a video training module on purchasing, a value-added function, by businesstraining.com. Greetings, and welcome to Purchasing, a value-added function. We are pleased you have selected our program to guide you into the strategic world of purchasing. This presentation will reveal some of the tools and techniques needed to make purchasing a value-added, not administrative, function. The function of purchasing over the years has been a vital part to the existence of companies, both large and small. Unfortunately, that part has been viewed as administrative, supporting other functions. True, purchasing does have its administrative tasks, but it is critical, value-added function that really contributes to the success or failure of the company. For many years, the predominant role of purchasing was getting the items needed to support other functions within the organization, as dictated by others within the organization. The items could range from office supplies and furniture to capital equipment and materials needed for production. This was usually dictated by a paper requisition submitted to the purchasing department. While that dates back in time before computers were so important to our existence, even after the use of computers increased, requisitions were still utilized. Bottom line, the role of purchasing was to source the right item, make sure it is delivered on time and at a good price. There was very little purchasing involvement in supplier selection or negotiations. After many companies started to conduct business on a global level, it became apparent that in order to be competitive, it was necessary to look at how money was being spent. They also had to align themselves with the best suppliers, and their internal processes had to be first rate. In order to make this happen, every department had to be scrutinized, and it had to be determined how the company benefited from the tasks each department performed. Purchasing at this point became a strategic function. Buying product was important, of course, but it was crucial to understand if the purchased product was of good quality, at least the same as the competition. Also important was the supplier. Was this the best supplier to source this product from? How would this supplier handle increases in our demand? How financially stable is this supplier? Are we getting the best possible price for the items we are sourcing from this supplier? Who are the global competitors for this supplier? The other important role of purchasing was the relationship with the other departments within the company. What is the purchasing department's role within this organization? How could it be a strategic function when so much emphasis was on buying and not enough emphasis on other aspects that could benefit the company? What can purchasing add to the overall goals of the company? Purchasing, after all, did not produce anything. It was a spend department. In order for a purchasing professional to truly understand the depth of what they can bring to a company, there are certain skills that are needed. These skills will serve as tools for the task of showing management within an organization how purchasing is added to the bottom line. Negotiation skills are essential for the purchasing professional. This is probably one of the most important skills one can bring to the profession. Remember, almost everything is negotiable. When a supplier has submitted a quote and there are certain aspects of the quote that does not benefit the buyer, negotiate. Things such as price, delivery, freight, stocking versus non-stocking are just a few of the items that can be negotiated. Every cost savings negotiated by purchasing adds to the profit line of the company. For instance, if you budgeted a widget to cost $1 and after price negotiation it costs 90 cents each, that is a 10-cent saving for every widget you purchase from the supplier. There are no additional expenses that have been subtracted from this savings. Another important skill is knowledge of inventory. Although inventory management may not be a part of the purchasing professional's responsibility, the behavior of purchasing will definitely affect inventory management. Knowing how much inventory to have when to scale back on inventory, and when to purchase more products is critical to the strategic function of purchasing. An example of this: if your company has a lot of inventory on hand at the end of a fiscal year, when the accounting books are closed, the company becomes financially responsible to the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, for this inventory. They have to pay taxes on the product. If the company is paying money in taxes, there is less money that can be used to reinvest and grow the organization. Therefore, it is very crucial that the purchasing professional understands how inventory impacts the company's bottom line. Another key detail about the purchasing professional having inventory knowledge is being aware that the right items are being purchased at the right time. If products are purchased and never consumed, this will cause problems of large magnitude. No company wants to carry inventory for a long period of time. Some of the products may have a limited shelf life and would eventually have to be thrown away, money lost for the company. Products could also have a limited life cycle and cannot be sold. Can you imagine purchasing an abundance of pet rocks and not being able to sell them? Equally important is having excellent skills and knowledge in regards to purchase order management and quote requests. The purchase order is a contract between the purchasing company and the supplier. Therefore, it is important to know what information needs to be covered on the purchase order. If the purchaser has negotiated special payment terms or freight terms for a particular order, it should be on the purchase order. For two reasons. One, it protects the purchaser in the event there are any questions. Two, if this is in any way a savings to the purchasing organization, it is documented and can be used to prove purchasing is saving the company money. The same knowledge goes for the request for quote, or RFQ, and request for proposal, RFP. If in the request the critical items are not mentioned, you may be requesting a red beach ball and get a red tennis ball. They are both balls, but it's the details which are the important aspect of the request. This, of course, brings up another part of being a strategic value-added position. It is vital that purchasing aligns itself with engineering, sales, and customer service. Purchasing should have representation at engineering meetings pertaining to new design and changes in existing design. Equally, they should have representation in sales meetings pertaining to new customers and changes in buying behavior of existing customers. Finally, purchasing should have representation in determining annual budgets for the organization. As a purchasing professional, one should stay informed of changes in the market, such as shortage of parts, anticipated rise or fall in cost of materials, etc. This information should be shared in budget planning, so any changes will not come as a surprise to executives and affect the budget. One of the most recent waves of change is e-commerce. Companies that are maintaining global competency are implementing ways to communicate electronically in regards to inventory, purchasing, quote requests, etc. Therefore, it is not a problem to communicate with a supplier in a different country or a different time zone. It is not difficult or costly to hold meetings requiring people from various areas of the world to attend. The growing popularity of virtual meetings has given companies the capability to have meetings without the expense of airline tickets and hotels. At this point, it may be apparent that the more knowledge one has, the more value can be added to the purchasing function. This is very true and critical. The importance of staying abreast of changes in the business environment is essential to the survival of an organization. One way the purchasing professional can ensure that this is happening is to get a professional certification, such as the Purchasing Management Expert certification. Maintaining professional certification gives an individual constant exposure to the things that are changing in their profession and in their business. Thank you for your attention.